Pee-wee, we're gonna have to say, tag, you're it, again. And thank you to our buddy Kyle Barlow for these amazing 3D designs of you, little girl, and your sissy. Well, fellow Kiss fans, welcome to It's All For You Demon, celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan. And before we celebrate any fun tonight, I do want to give a big shout out to our buddy Kyle Barlow.
And Mr. Barlow
once again has sent us a gigantic package of Kiss 3D printed goodies that we will do a giveaway for at the end of the year. But for tonight, the fun we're going to have is inspired by Xander over at Kiss Army Things. A couple weeks ago, many weeks ago, he did a vinyl tag, and 2 weeks ago I did my version of his vinyl tag, and that was a lot of fun. My old manager at work mentioned that he liked that format and said you should expand that into merch. So, thank you, John, for that bit of advice, because tonight I created my own Kiss merch tag. Pretty simple, came up with 10 categories of Kiss collecting merch, put it into tag format, and anyone out there who wants to do this, they are all below. I encourage you to film a video of yours or leave your comments below, and let's have some fun talking Kiss merch collecting. So let's get right to it. My 2024 Kiss merch collecting tag.
Perfect.
And as always, there's a hiccup involved. Without a basement, this is going to be hard because a lot of my stuff is in frames. And all of my Kiss stuff is in boxes right now. So I may include pictures of the old Wax Night basement, just so you know what merch I'm talking about. First up, Pictures Only Begun, your very first piece of Kiss merch. Mine would be this Unmasked album I bought at TNT Variety Store in St. Joseph, Missouri for $7. And inside, walking away from the store, I noticed this giant cartoon picture of Paul. Well, that was the Unmasked poster, and I didn't know at the time that these albums came with merch inside. I had seen that Unmasked poster on Exposed, but I had no idea it came in the album, and so that was a complete surprise to me, and gave me my very first piece of Kiss merch. The Kiss Unmasked poster from the album. And we can consider album inserts merch, right? Because technically it is. It's not bought in a store. Well, technically it's bought in a record store. It's merch. We're gonna call it merch. And not ashamed to admit, recently added to that merch is the order form. Because as a teenager, I taped this to my bedroom wall, naive Kiss collecting, and it got lost many, many years ago. Finally have one back. Number 2, We Are One, your favorite complete collection. And this is my favorite complete collection. This is mine because it was so much fun to collect. It's the Halloween costumes. Released in 1978 from Collegeville, Peter Criss with costume, and this may be my favorite costume of the 4 because I love the colors. Paul Stanley, probably my most disheveled mask. He's kind of a mess. He's having a bad hair day. And Paul would probably be a second runner-up as far as costumes because I do love that neon pink and neon turquoise. My 2 favorite colors in the world. Orange though too. I am a big orange fan. Gene Simmons. And Gene was the first actual costume apparel wear I ever bought of the collection. And lastly, Ace in a box. No celluloid there, but he is in the box. And would you believe I bought this Ace in a box for $24 from Peter Arquette. That was way back in the day though, so not current price time, but way back in the day, bought that. That was my very first mask. Had that mask forever, then added Gene lastly to the collection, and this took probably 4 years, I want to say, Ace. This costume was a tough one to track down, and I know I've talked a couple weeks ago that Ace is always the hardest to get, especially when you're trying to complete a collection of all 4. Ace is my bugger. I have the worst time with old Ace. Number 3, Unfinished Business, a collection you have not completed. So on the same tit as the Halloween costumes, I'm gonna go solo belt buckles. Peter Criss, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, who we'll talk about again in tag 10. And as I mentioned with the Halloween costumes, Ace, nowhere to be found. Right as I was getting ready to add Ace into my collection, the buckle craze went crazy and prices skyrocketed to $500. And I am not paying $500 for a belt buckle that should be $50 to $75. But one day, Ace, we're gonna get you. Number 4, fits like a glove, your favorite t-shirt in your collection. And I'm gonna do a tie because I have 2 shirts I totally love, and one being my very first shirt into my collection ever, the 1989 Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits t-shirt with Live Tour 89 on the back, which we know there wasn't a tour, but this was my very first Kiss shirt, and I wore it proudly to school, and I felt like a badass walking down the hall. I remember I got a kind of a nod from an older Kiss fan. He didn't say anything, but he kind of just gave me that nod because I was finally part of the Army. And the runner-up, the 1979 Dynasty concert t-shirt in white. This shirt looked like a mess when I got it, and my wife did her magic reselling work on it and got all the stains off, and it is absolutely perfect. And I love the return of Kiss back. That's awesome. And this thing looks so awesome in the basement. I can't wait to have a basement again. I can't wait to have a basement again. 2-timer, doubles or variants in your collection, and I'm not going to go through these here, but these are my favorite variants I have in my collection, and they are the 1979 Dynasty Tour Book. Now we all know there are 4 variations of this tour book. Variation number 1, maybe a handful of people have, and they won't let it be seen. It is the Return of Kiss tour book. Majorly expensive, majorly flawed, one of those lost items. Powerball wins if you find one. Version 2, version 3, and version 4. Like I said, we won't go through these here because I do want to do a video on 2, 3, and 4, but these are my 2-timer favorite variants. Non-mint means more fun, your most damaged piece of merch in your collection. Mine, I'm going for the Lunchbox. I bought this Lunchbox at a Kiss Expo decades ago, and it's pretty beat up. Bought it for $30, but the fact that it's beat up is, I love it even more, because to me, it means some kid had this on the playground. Some kid ate their lunch out of this every day, 1978 to 1980, and it saw its fair share of scratches and dents on the elementary school playground. And this is just one of those items that you kind of always see, and you never really think it's going to show up in your collection. And when it does, you just kind of stare at it all day long, like, wow, I have the Kiss Lunchbox in my collection. Beat up or not, non-mint means more fun. What is this with a kangaroo on it? Your favorite piece of Australian merch. Mine would be these, the Lady Jane combs from 1980. Now the holder is a hard one to come by because it is so fragile. It is like the thinnest plastic ever, and if it's not sealed, the odds of you having a nice Lady Jane display holder are very slim. And if it's shipping from Australia, you better hope that seller packs that thing good. It is on my forever I want this list, but I'm happy just to have the combs. The combs to me are super cool, and these two are my favorite colors of the bunch. I love that red on the black and white comb. I remember being a teenager and just blown away by Australian merch, and to have a bit of Australian merch in the collection is always a good day. Bang Bang You, as in a nail to the wall, merch that hangs. This was a poster I had when I was probably 19, and I lost it over the years, and I am so thrilled to have it back in the collection. I'm going to try to unroll it a little bit here, probably show a picture of it instead because I just don't want to damage it. It is a kind of a hard one to come by, and kind of sent me down a rabbit hole I'm gonna follow with posters, and I'll have a video on that to come. But this is the poster I'm talking about, the loudest band in the world poster. This thing hung on my college bedroom wall, and just such a cool poster. It doesn't really have a KISS logo on it, minus the record, and just such a powerful statement to begin with. The loudest band in the world, and then that cool Creatures pose. That is my favorite poster in my collection, and one I am super happy to have back, and it's throwing me down a poster rabbit hole, but we'll have a video on that to follow, explaining that rabbit hole and what we're going to do to complete it. Next up, from all the magazines, your favorite magazine in your collection, and mine would be a magazine I didn't really know about until much later into my collecting game. I watched an episode of Kiss My Collectibles. They did the top 5 magazines you should have in your collection, and everyone named this one magazine, and it was the 1979 Poster Book magazine. And when I went absolutely gaga for Dynasty, I knew I had to have this in my collection. Now, I had the Peter Criss poster for a very long time, and then magically one day I was able to get the remaining 3 posters, so I had the poster and never the magazine. And I always think there's a bit of luck and magic to KISS collecting, because I think if you want something bad enough, it ends up showing up, and this poster book was a prime example of that. Went up for auction, was able to snag it, already had the posters. This did not have the posters inside, but hey, my collection was complete because I had the posters, now I had the magazine, and this Dynasty boy was happy, and I have a magazine that some consider to be amongst the top 5 magazines you need in your collection. And the back of it has a Dynasty ad. How can you not love that? And I will throw one little tie in there as well. This is a magazine that everyone needs, and this is just the absolute fun of KISS collecting. The KISS Meets a Phantom of the Park movie magazine. Such a fun read in October. Such a fun read anytime. And then finally, you're everything to me. Your most valuable piece in your collection. And I'm not talking price. I'm not talking most valuable, expensive, whatever. I'm talking most valuable to your heart. The one piece in your collection, if the alarms went off and the world was ending, the one piece you would take with you into a bunker. And mine would be a gift I got for my birthday when I was 30. 20 freaking years ago. Wow. This month, 20 years ago. My job after college was at a radio station. It was Oldies 95. I was a promotions assistant, and one of the DJs, Bobby Day, he was an afternoon DJ. I talked about KISS to everyone, and he had interviewed Gene on his solo promotional tour in 1978. He told me Gene was a constant professional, came in, did the interview, pumped the record like a good marketing boy should, and that he was super cool. And then on my birthday, I get a call from the DJ booth at my desk. It was Bobby Day. He said, "Hey, I heard it's someone's birthday. Look in your drawer." I opened up the drawer, and it was this Gene Simmons solo album, given to Bobby Day that day, signed by Gene Simmons, with Radioactive written above his name, and his name with that beautiful $sign on the S. And what's super cool about this is Gene also did a television interview that same time. And for the television interview, listeners could actually call in, and I think they took like maybe the first 10, 15 callers, and you got an 8x10 promo, black and white promo of Gene for the solo album, signed. And my buddy Jerry Nibel's mom called in, and she got him one of those. And the signature is exactly the same. Radioactive, Gene Simmons, $sign, only his is in blue marker, and this is in black and white. But what even beats that record is the fact that Gene, that day when he came to do the interview with Bobby Day, he brought with him that record, of course, and this belt buckle. And of all my solo album belt buckles, this one is the most pristine, never used, never scratched, never worn, and contains the Acoin sticker on the back. that actually says copyright 1977 because technically these were Love Gun belt buckles. All the pictures on the front are from the Love Gun album, but hey, why not make more money and put them up with the solo albums? And there you go. But it's fun to realize that this belt buckle went from a Casablanca, probably assistant, to Gene Simmons' hand, to Bobby Day's hand, and then to my hands. 7 degrees of Gene Simmons. 4 degrees of Gene Simmons. An actual Gene Simmons belt buckle that once was held by the man himself. I did want to add that that Gene record is a promo record. So this record and that belt buckle would be my grab and run to the bunker pieces of merch. Not the most valuable in my collection. I don't collect for money anyway. The only person that's going to get rich off of any of this stuff is John 5. The rest of us, we're going to die. Our wives are going to take it to Goodwill. That's the facts of life. It's just fun to collect. I collect for nostalgia, vintage, fun. And this is the piece that the fun pulls on my heartstrings the most. And this ends my merch tag. Like I said, if you want to participate, please make a video, put it out there, share it in the comments below. Let's have some fun with this, discussing the fun of collecting Kiss merch. Thank you for hanging with us tonight and waxing a little rock and roll nostalgia with us here in the Wax Night house. Pee-wee's like, man, I just want to go to bed. Just want to take a nap. Be good to your babies. Spay, neuter, microchip. Take care, be safe. We'll talk to you soon.